Alright, today's what?
D-Day.
D-Day. Which is a job I've been putting off for a while, but we've pretty much almost done the job in the back. Lotta's just varnishing all the center console top. I'm going to be doing the side, so that's almost put together. Just waiting for a couple of cup infills. But today is going to be dash day, so I'm going to dismantle all my cluster here, take the whole dash out, because we're going to fix one of the cables on the heater at the bottom, just have a look, check in, maybe clean all the heating kind of core and stuff like that. We know it's good because it works, so we're not going to mess around with changing the motor or anything like that. But it's kind of a big job I've been putting off because we can't drive the van, and we've been using the van as an everyday van. So it's going to be hopefully today and tomorrow I can get the dash back in. I'm like, hope, and then we can be using it again. So let's hope it all goes to plan. Alright, so we have the cluster out. We took both of the seats out just so it makes it a bit easier. We've got a bit of space and then we don't damage them once we take the dash out. I've just loosened these two bolts here, and then also the safety bolts here. I've just got a pair of vice grips on those, which they've come off easier than I thought they would come off, so that's good news. So then what we've got to do now is disconnect all the heater controls and then start unscrewing all the screws from the side, and hopefully we can just easily lift it out. So I've just took the steering wheel off. You know, all this is not new. I watched the little Go Westy video about how to take your dash out, so I'm certainly not, I would recommend watching that video rather than this one. You know, I marked the steering wheel, I got a bit fat there, so I marked it in two places, and then again on my steering wheel. And I know which way the wheels are turning, so I can't get those two marks. Can't get those two marks wrong anyway. So I've marked it in two places, so that when this sits down, obviously I just line those two holes up and then push it down. What I did notice is that my indicator was not clicking off automatically when I turned the corner. So I assumed that they said something about a peg. On the back of my steering wheel, this doesn't look worn at all. Looks still pretty tidy. It doesn't really focus that well. And then there's a little peg here that looks pretty good, but if you can see this, all this grease and just old grime, and like I've literally just scraped this with a screwdriver, and just there's just thick tarry black stuff. So I'm assuming that this is the problem why my indicator's probably not switching off, just because it's so sticky and gross that it's just not moving very freely. So what I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time cleaning all this up, and then I might put the steering wheel back on and then just see if that kind of helps it. Otherwise, if that's not the case, then what I need to do is probably order a new indicator column. But I mean, I can see the peg coming out and then going back in, so I'm not sure, but I'm gonna just clean this up because it's gross and disgusting. And then now the steering wheel's off, I should be able to take the dash out. So like I suggested, we flick this into right, we're gonna turn right, come back, it's flicked off. Go left, and then go back up, and you see it's flicked up. And if you can see here, the difference between what it looks like now and what it looked like 2 minutes ago, I just cleaned all the grease off and it works. So probably if you guys are having the same issue, just maybe try and do the same thing. All right. So the heater core's out now, or the heater box, what do you think?
I hope we can put it off.
Yeah, so it's a little bit scary, to be honest. We can also get in, we got to change one of our washers, we can do that while we're got it out, but we are a little bit nervous, to be honest. It's a bit of a job. We've seen the video online about how to do it, but that doesn't mean that everything's going to go to plan. But it'll work or it won't work. 50-50. Alright, so I've just taken all my front heater out, changed all the foam on all the flaps for, it's an EVA self-adhesive foam, so I'm hoping it's a little bit thicker and kind of more denser than the foam that was on there, but it seems to seal okay. I also took some photos. I couldn't find these clips to save my life. I've seen some people have 3D printed them. I'm not that technical, to be honest. I'm also not very technical with metal, but I took some photos. I just made some out of 2mm tin, some metal clips that hold my bar in. But in typical VW style, we've taken 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. We've noticed that the shrouding around the resistor for the blower motor is kind of falling away, and also, if you can see here, it's started to melt its way through our console. So I'm obviously not going to put that back in, so when we use it down the road it's going to catch fire or start smoking. So we're going to order a new motor, blower motor that we had. The resistors in Australia I cannot find. In England they do a repo one, so if you're in Europe where you're lucky, Germany have loads. America, I've just ordered one from Go Westy. The guys have been fantastic. Just sent them an email and said we would, I need one ASAP, so if they can express post it to me, because obviously while the heater's out, the dash is out, we can't drive the van. So now we've lost our daily vehicle. So we're now Ubering everywhere to get back to the factory to still work on it. So we can get lots of jobs done on the van, but we're a little bit stuck. What we do have at work is some of this heat shroud, and it kind of goes around the exhaust pipes and stuff like that at work. So what I'm going to do is back this screw off a little bit. I'm going to just tuck this under and then leave this here. So if it does get, because people said that the resistors do get a little bit warm anyway, and it's just going to stop this from melting anymore. So fingers crossed that's how that's all going to work out. Alright, what's going on, people? What I'm just doing at the moment, I'm not showing you much, sorry. I'm just under the van, I've just taken the spare wheel off, and what I'm doing is just changing one of my heater cables. It's the main cable that opens or turns off the heating. As you can see, this side here is really badly bent, so it just kind of pops straight off the lever. I've just managed to get so basically underneath the spare wheel you have your radiator fan, and then just above that, it's hard to see just there, just this little thing here is your little kind of open and close tap. That was terrible to say. Just, you know, turn off and turn on the coolant that goes through to your dash heating. So what I just wanted to make sure was that this valve itself, there's like a little lever on the top edge there, that it was still moving left and right freely, because if that was stiff or jamming, I'm assuming all that would happen is it would just bend my new cable once I fitted it. So I've got the new cable on, which is here. I've just got to put the retaining clip, this little jobby here, back on so it fixes it securely to that clip, and then hopefully I can poke it back up through the grommet in the floor without bending the cable, and then when I put my heater back on, it should all be there ready to go. It's a little bit of a tight space under here. We don't really have many jacks or proper car jack at work to kind of lift it up in the air, so everything's on my back on the floor, so hence the camera being really tight to where I'm working. But pretty much this is what it looks like if you want to change the cable for your heater. And I got this cable from Go Westy. Again, you know, I bought it from them the same as anybody else. You can probably buy it from other companies depending where you are in the States or in the UK. You know, I bought a couple of things from Just Campers in the UK, and I'm not saying these are the best guys to use, but for me, these are the guys that I've been going to, and you know, in between those and maybe a few different guys. So you know, if you find it somewhere else cheaper, please let me know so I know for next time. Hopefully I'm not going to have to do this again too soon. So yeah, I'll just clip it all up now. Right, so we've decided to paint the dash. We're gonna make a wooden top for it, like I've said, but the brown's all scratched up and I hate that brown. You know, there's a few dings in it and stuff, but you know, it's still the dash at the end of the day. So the only thing I'm worried about is, you know, with anything, if you don't get a good layer of paint and sealer over it, that anything that knocks it now is just gonna chip it and it's gonna look terrible. But you know, you can't ever try and not fix anything because it's potentially gonna get damaged. So anyway, here's the top half. I've got some plastic primer so we can maybe do the bottom half, but I'm just going to try and get some cream on it, the same kind of off-whitey kind of colour that we use for the van, so hopefully it's not going to look a little bit too muchy when it's in underneath the windscreen. Finished, sprayed it now, all cream. What I'm gonna have to do is, this is just leftover paint from the van. You can see here it's very glossy. I've added an agent which mats it down a little bit, but still this super glossy finish, which on the dash obviously I don't want, because I don't want the light to bounce off it and reflect into my eyes. So I'm either going to sand it just lightly, just to buff off that polish, only on the top piece obviously, anything from the front doesn't really matter. Little ding here, but it's an old dash. Or I'm gonna have to buy some kind of like matte spray just to quickly dust over the top of it, so I might give it a little bit of a sand first, or I might see if I can buy some cheap matte spray, see if that works. If that's no good, then I'll just sand it all off and give it a little sand with some 600 or something. These are all the plastic parts I've done here. So this is white, and there's a couple of different units. I put blue, didn't want to do too much in the turquoisey colour just to try and thing, but just obviously the cluster console, the glove box, and just the steering column. And then a couple of vents hopefully should tie it in nicely, but we'll see how we go. I did dismantle all these vents first, because obviously these are moving vents, so I didn't want that to be all grimy and not work. So these I actually popped out and just painted the outsides. These very dash vents, I kind of painted the whole things because there should be just paint, air going through them anyway. So that's the finish, a little bit bobbly, but I think they should look really nice on the dash. The new resistor, big thumbs up to Dennis at Go Westy for getting that here ASAP. Just got the new fan now, which I'm about to fit all the foam to, the new foam to seal it, and then give it a bench test, guys. So it's a little bit hard to do one-handed, but I've done a bench test with my back of my socket. So I've tried each 3 speeds of the fan, so I know that the blower fan's working. I had to fix one of these cables, which I think was my footwell cable, because this was all bent, but luckily I've been able to straighten it out enough, and then I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's this one. There. You can see there it's moving. Obviously I made the little metal clips to hold this up. I think the last guy had put a screw and then just wrapped a bit of wire around, which was actually causing the fin to hit it when it tried to move, which is why I'm thinking that the cable bent off. So I've bench tested all my cables, tried to hold it in the right position, moved it all around, lubed a bit of the cables. I'm not sure if that's going to help or not, but basically bench test, it all seems to be working. So the next step is to get it on, fit the actual hot water cable onto here, because obviously I had to change that, so I'm hoping that that all fits, and then get my dash in and see if it works. So fingers crossed this is going to be the last of the drama. Alright guys, so I've got my heater console back in now, all screwed up with all of the screws. I've got my coolant hoses fixed back onto the other side. I've just got to fit my actual coolant valve underneath the van cable back onto the console there. What I have noticed is, like I said before, I got the resistor from Go Westy. These guys have been fantastic, but the cables from the resistor over to where my fan switch needs to be is at least 25 centimeters short on the back of the dash. Now the only thing I can think of is, if this is obviously for left hand side vans, it would most likely be around here, but with the right hand side vans it's right over on the other side of the heater unit. So this is not a big deal. I'll just cut these cables now and solder on extensions, but maybe something worthwhile. I'm not sure if they make a right hand kit or a left hand kit, but you know, extending the cable is not really a big drama. I have sent them an email, just say a big thanks for sending the resistor super quick, and that the issues that I've come across, so hopefully they will send some extended resistors to anybody with a right hand drive. But anyway, so this is it all fitted. I'm just now going to cut these and extend them, and then get this on, and then what I'll probably do is start the engine, do a test before I fit my dash back on, and then I can get all my rubbers back on and then fit my dash. Alright, so dash is in. I've just got to put the screws along the back. I've got the vents in. You can see are all colour coded. The glove box as well, and then also the steering column. Make sure that's screwed up properly. So what I'm going to do is just see if I can play around a little bit with the actual horn before I put the steering wheel back on. Hopefully that should take about 5 minutes, and then pretty much that should be it. You know, I wanted to change the colour of this, but you know, the steering wheel is still going to be brown, and then the climate control thing there, or the blower, still brown, so maybe it all ties in. See how we go. Guys, here it is. Here's my custom dash that I've just finished now. So obviously, as you can see, I've still got to get the radio in, but this is all color coded like I said before. And look at the steering wheel that I've just spent. It's been maybe 10 minutes. I thought it'd be 5 minutes. Just give me a sec, I'm just moving around. Alright, there we go. So what I've done is, this is not an original idea. I saw this on a photo of somebody else's van. We have some leftover vinyl from the seats, so I've literally just wrapped the horn emblem. I think later on I'm going to get this all in white, the little VW, because I think it'll look nice with the rest of the dash. But there it is, brown. The dash, because it's the same colour, I've still got to take all my tape off. Do that in a second, but it should just all nice and flow into the rest of the van, and then just bring them cute bluey features into the vents and everywhere else.